So there's a that I have not met. I'll meet you as soon as we're done with this hour. So we're not going to go through and do introductions and all that stuff right now because we would never make it through the hour of content that we need. Those of you that I have met, hi, it's good to see you guys again. We'll revisit next week when I'm with you again. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Erica. This is also Erica, so that's really confusing. That's Erica with the K. I'm Erica with the C, but my last name has 2 Ks in it. So we never fault you when you confuse the 2 of us. I am, if you haven't started watching video yet, I am your anatomy instructor. You're gonna get really bored of me because I'm gonna talk to you a lot on video. And then you'll come in and be like, I feel like I know you. And then you'll be like, I didn't know you were so short. You look taller in the video. And I am, I'm very short. I'm also pregnant right now. So you will see as I stand up and do stuff and move around that you will notice that I have a second human I'm carrying around. This is my dear friend, Elizabeth Shear. She's here visiting me from California / Florida.
Two separate sides of
She's bi-coastal. That's how she lives like that. She is also a yogi. She has a depth of experience. She's a EOIRT 500, and she has been a massage therapist for 25 years. I know, she doesn't even look 25, right? You're like, how has she been doing that long? And her big thing about teaching, she teaches posture, both on and, posture off the mat, really. So, and how it translates onto the mat. Her stuff is excellent. So she is going to be in here today, assisting us both with body positivity, as well as with those of you that we're going to stay and do anatomy after. So she's just going to be adding to the conversation. Do you want to add anything?
No, not unless you want me to.
If you want. Okay. So we are going to jump into, and I don't know if you guys have I couldn't see it in the intensive, and I can't an extended classroom for some reason today. I do have some notes, but we're going to talk for the next 45 minutes or so, hour, about body positivity. That's our topic. Was everybody aware of that? So what I want to say before we start diving into this is, one, we're going to make this we're going to try to really make this a group discussion. I've heard you guys are pretty chatty, so that makes me happy. We'll do some large group and some small group conversation around it. But I just give a fair trigger warning. This can be a really a charged topic that can make people feel a certain way, bring certain things up. We're not trying to do that, but just the nature of the conversation. I think a lot of us, especially in Western culture, we have been exposed to body identity in a variety of different ways. And I have found over my years of teaching that most people have something about their own body that has been challenging for them. And so we specifically bring this conversation forward in the training for you guys because you're choosing to come into a field where it's all about the body. So you're going to be the leader of a class in a classroom and setting an example in one level, and you're also going to be teaching people. And your own personal belief system about your own body can come forward and come through when you're teaching and teaching others on the mat. And your understanding of what others are experiencing or feeling is really important for you to be able to explore. It's important for us to be able to acknowledge, to explore, and then to be able to understand whether the tools that we can use to show up really fully for our students and make sure that we offer a really safe and accessible class, no matter what the body type that is in the room. And the yogic world and yoga in the Western world has tended to favor, skinny women that are typically white. That's a real common perception. I think over the last few years that has been starting to shift and change. And so we want to be really thoughtful around that and understanding that what many people have been exposed to is not the reality of what's really happening across the yoga rooms. The things that we see on social media and the things that we see, yoga journals started to do a better job of changing who and how they represent on the front covers, but it was for quite some time really flexible individuals getting into really difficult positions that, quite honestly, some of us will never, ever in this lifetime get into that kind of shape. So how do we start to tease that apart and allow our studios to be safe places for everybody to come land and really learn how to move and be embodied in their own body. So that's where we're at. So if you need to take a break, you need to walk out or whatever, feel free. You always are welcome to do that if you need to. If you need one of us to come with you, you just let us know and one of us will come and meet you out and talk through what you need to talk. Okay, cool. I'm not saying this is gonna be like super heavy. I'm just giving like it can sometimes mess stuff up. So when we talk about this topic, I think I would just want to ask if I'm using the word body positivity. Can somebody just, there's no right or wrong answer. If you just throw out to me what you think body positivity means, or have an idea of what we say when we're talking about that concept. Great, I like that.
Accepting where you're at in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling good in your own skin.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciating the things your body can do.
That's great. I love that one. Mm-hmm.
Unlearning the shame that we were taught.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yourself grace.
Oh yeah, I like that one.
I think accepting of like yourself, but also other people and their uniqueness and what their body can do that yours can't, and having not competition, not but like grace.
Yeah, that's really great. Good. Yeah.
Yeah, not to argue with the term body positivity, but I did read a really good article once that kind of challenged it to allow some people to view it as body neutrality instead of body positivity, because even though you may like influence a room that you're teaching with the way you view your body, I don't think that's always true. I don't think you have to absolutely love your body the way it is, but I think you can work to be neutral towards it, and I think that can fall under the umbrella.
Yeah, there's actually two separate camps, so I appreciate you bringing that. What is your name? Kara, thank you. There are, we call this body positivity, but I thought about changing it to body neutrality, although it doesn't really, most people have never heard that term, so it's hard to know what that means, but Kara's right. There is another term called body neutrality, which is neither like this like exuberant, I love myself, I'm all in, I'm totally digging everything going on. And the other extreme is I hate myself, I can't handle it, I don't love anything about myself, I'm self-harming because of that, et cetera, et cetera. There is a camp where the conversation has now come to body neutrality, like, all right, I'm okay with where I'm at today. And I think that's probably a more realistic term for what we're talking about, because I love what you said. You can come into a room and you can be like, I'm not totally digging my body right now. I'm not all the way into where I'm at, but you can still show up in a really safe way for other people. You don't have to exude any energy otherwise. So I appreciate you saying that. Somebody had their hand up.
Yeah, and as a nutritionist, I work with a lot of dysfunctional thought patterns around body positivity. And something that's in my field that I thought was really interesting, even body mentality is asking a lot of some people sometimes.
Yeah.
So like, what I really liked from another expert in the field was they were talking about self-respect, body respect, and like I think people can grasp that a little bit better, like respecting what your body can and can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And just appreciating its functionality, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot. So you can already see this is really not a straightforward topic, right? Super complex. And really in the Western culture, what if anybody could, if you can you identify what tends to be the driver of body image in our culture? The media. So who right now is driving body image for a female identifying body type? Thank you. That's so easy. That's great. Right? Can people think of who has previously driven the body type?
Victoria's Secret, Supermodel.
Victoria's Secrets, Britney Spears. How about the variety of different supermodels that have come through, right? Because you have the Cindy Crawfords and the Heidi Klums. You have the, I just lost her name, Kate. So they refer to her as waif, Kate Moss, right? Who is it now? I'm old. Gigi Bella, Kendall Kardashian. She doesn't look like the rest of the sisters though, right? That's interesting. The same thing I think what often happens though is we forget that male identifying, that also is happening. We just don't usually talk about it or acknowledge it. So if you would have to say like current day, what is the culture? What is the image that's driving?
Chris, what's his name?
Chris Hemsworth.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Thor.
Thor. Those are great movies.
Superhero guys.
So it's the concept now. So we have what women, people that have female bodies that they identify with. It's really tiny waists, big boobs, tiny waist, curvy bottoms, right? Men, it's this really athletic, muscular type. Look around the room. And is that reality for people's body types in the room? Is Erica ever gonna have a body type that resembles a Kardashian? I mean, surgery, sure, but like Erica represents a more Vata constitution than Ayurveda. I represent a more Pitta, you're Pitta, Vata. Then there's a Kapha. They're more Kapha. That is probably outside of the scope, but like all of us have sort of a predetermined body type. I am short, stocky, and straight down. I will never be able to change anything unless I surgically go in and change something to look like what's being presented now. It would be really, really hard for me to do that. It would also be likely really hard for me to look like a Kate Moss and become a really very thin individual. But yeah, I'm just using myself as an example. I'm inundated constantly with imagery over and over and over and over and over again that is what we are supposed to like live up to. And that starts to change people's psyche. And as a result of that, things start to happen for individuals. And what I would love for you guys to do now is, I don't even really know how to do this. So like, just go in like groups of 5 or 6, just kind of off. And just talk about what things can result when people start to have I don't even want to use the word negative, have imagery that's shown to them consistently over and over again that does not match with what they look like, nor matches with what they can become, and what can then result as that. From a physical health, mental health, and emotional health, like what are the things that you can see that can come out of this bombardment of imagery towards people and a shift towards a more negative image of like, I can't attain that thing. So if you guys would just break into little groups and just come up with 2, 3 things, and then we'll open it to you. Oh, no. Michelle, I'm gonna move you with the group. Hi, Michelle.
Okay, thank you. Awesome.
Hi, group. Hi. You're gonna have Michelle join you.
Hi, guys. Hello.
All right. That was a very lengthy
Right.
scenario.
Well, she mentioned dysfunction. And I've seen that now in someone I love, that self-image, including physical self-image, has brought them to a point of dysfunction. Inability to think, decide, and act. So it's paralyzing.
It really can be. Yeah, I feel like if you, especially if you start to develop like disordered eating, like or body dysmorphia, yeah, it really like it does like consume everything, and that's all you're able to think about. Like you have great energy capacity to think about anything else.
So less than complete dysfunction. Like what can it do just to the average person?
I think
Do they carry like a backpack of weight over this issue?
I think they spend a lot of money on stuff that's not necessary.
I think it shifts habits for children. Like if you're constantly exposed to it, I think when it breaks it down in the sense that you become so into it, that now like say certain standards like you had already are now being shamed with their presence. Like it's like, oh well, when you're constantly exposed to something, it becomes normal, right? And everyone's just kind of normal in life. So now that that's what you are defining it as, you see that you see a shift in your habits, your routine.
Like these false boundaries where it's like the boundary is a circle, you're like outside of the
I think
circle.
it also can cause one to be judgmental, right? So I grew up in the Army, so when I see people, even now, 10 years after retirement, who are not physically fit to the military standard, I go, what's your problem? So I can be judgmental. And then I have to remind myself, well, one, they're not soldiers, and two, they're just fine the way they are. And but because I had 3 decades of enculturation in this idea that there is an ideal specimen of the mostly the male body, that I have to fight that judgmentalism. So
I think we get that in yoga too a lot. Like if you're not able to like do a handstand, like I feel like there's like so much focus on like these fancy poses that like I can't do a handstand. And like for a while, like the last time I took teacher training, like I was like, I can't, like, how am I gonna be a teacher if I can't do a handstand? Now, like she is saying with Yoga Journal, it's all these like contortionist poses that, like a lot of people can't get into just like anatomically. And I feel like a lot of the Western focus in yoga has turned into fitness, lose weight, strong, like how can I look cool during these poses?
I was at it for a little while. Like I think there's I heard that like
One more minute.
trainers are like, oh, I don't fit that image. And I unfortunately was a very like good relationship with my body, and I'm like, that's what you want. I can't make that quick. I'm not gonna go on it. That's what we said.
All right, Michelle. Yeah.
It's like, how do you feel after it?
Yeah, I think it creates an unrealistic expectation for the individual
Are you okay?
of what they can ultimately do in life and what they can achieve in life.
do you see that with athletes as well?
Absolutely. Athletes and coaches as well.
So Rachel is involved with the U.S. Volleyball team, so she deals with world-class athletes.
Michelle.
I'm sorry, Michelle, so sorry. So you're saying inadequacy, is that what you said? We're
An
having a hard time.
unrealistic expectation
Unrealistic expectations.
of not only their bodies, but what they can accomplish with their body.
Yeah, I absolutely identify with that. I have some physical disabilities due to my combat experiences, and balance is very, very difficult with me, and I cannot get out of my brain an image from yesterday. We did a yoga session, and one of my classmates nailed a position perfectly, and I'm just like, I can't do that. I'm inadequate, and maybe I will never be able to do that as well as they could. Yeah, maybe I give myself permission to say, maybe I will never be as good as a world-class athlete. Thanks for joining us, Michelle.
Bye, Michelle.
It's a really exciting-
She's just not like staring at the back of
I
your
know, I was
head.
like, Michelle kind of like got like my, like our side profile. It's kind of awkward. Sorry.
You can point it to everybody too. Hi, how was that? I love group chatting. Okay, so let's just go around the room. I don't know who was in what group, so you just have to tell me, or you could make it up, it doesn't really matter. So let's just start in the back, far right hand corner, whatever that group was.
Just kind of brainstorming.
Yeah.
some things We felt like, and different experiences I think we've each had as well, or people we know have had, but feeling like it can lead to a loss of self-worth that your physical body determines how much worth you have, whether it's standards you place on yourself or you feel it from other people. Which, you know, all of those things can lead to isolation, anxiety, depression, eating disorders. Like there's just so much negativity that can come out from not feeling like your body is, you know, worthy or that you're worth something.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you acknowledging, hey, this is most of what we've all felt and like other people we know have felt. Making this, again, this conversation, like this is a really real conversation. This happens. I have yet to meet somebody that hasn't had an experience with their image of their self. Next group.
We talked about more of our, like what our personal experiences have been. Body image for me is traumatic. I was taught at a very young age that if I was fat, I was unlovable. And that if I was fat like my mom, I was gonna be unlovable. But if I didn't finish what's on my plate, I was wasteful. But if I wanted seconds, I was selfish. So it's a core memory for me. Food has always been an issue. I anticipate it to always be an issue for the rest of my life. Yeah, because I'll never forget what my grandfather said when I was 6. It is etched into my brain forever. Yeah. So for me, it's traumatic. We had someone in our group who had someone in their life who was so affected by poor body image that they committed suicide. So value is everything sometimes, and what we perceive of ourselves, despite what the world is telling us. Sometimes really what the world is telling us, but not what our loved ones are telling us, right? We tend to focus on the negative. And then the experience of growing up bigger is just the process of being prepubescent and needing to go bra shopping and not being able to buy the pretty bras that your friends are wearing and having to go where the old ladies buy their bras. It's demoralizing. Why am I going to wear this? I hate this. I hate this. Right? And you're from a very young age. I'm sure it's like this for men, but I can only speak of the women. From a very young age, it's stressed on us that we are expected to act, behave, and look a certain way. And I think it's just all compounds like inside, and it's how you perceive that. You know, it's the tools that you've been given to be resilient and recover from those experiences. And some of us weren't given those tools.
Thank you for that. That is really vulnerable. What was your name?
My name's Jen.
Jen, thank you. Thank you for being really vulnerable and being willing to like.
Body image is a big thing for me.
Yeah.
It's something that I plan on focusing my life on, is helping other people not hate what they see.
Yeah.
Because the world is gonna hate me enough that there's no room for hate here. There's no room.
And we're gonna touch on a little bit of what you're saying after everybody discusses this. You guys haven't really started to dive into the philosophy side of yoga yet, but there's the concept of something called vrittis, which are the fluctuations of the mind, and then these things that are called samskaras that can then develop from vrittis. And your story highlights how samskaras are created in our lifetime. And so we will give a little bit more. Elizabeth's going to share a story to talk about that, and how difficult it is to undo a samskara and then create a new one that's in opposition to the one that you have.
Jen, I just want to say that thank you for sharing, because you have been able, because you've gone through this in your life, this trauma. I'm sure you know, like you're able to feel other people's so deeply. So I feel you, I appreciate your sharing, and you're such a gift to this world and what you can bring to others. Taking on that role.
Next group. Yeah, this first part of the not so fun. Sorry.
It's like so deliciously like authentic. I love it. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is our good idea to guys, which I think is so awesome. There's like such a I work with a lot of athletes as a sports dietitian, and like there's a lot of like disordered eating patterns with like male runners, male swimmers, and even just expectations of what that means to be an athlete like that. So that's coming from my own experiences. But let me. Do you guys want me to share what we all talked about? I really love what Amanda said, because she was talking about worthiness and like what you guys are doing, and I was kind of just like asking like what kind of worthiness are we talking about, and then she started with worthiness of love, because if you feel, she said, if you feel that, then you don't necessarily feel like you're worthy of love. Sometimes it's just like so dysfunctional, but it's not just that. It's like just even feeling good in general, feeling good emotions. Like if I'm fat, then I don't deserve to feel good because I'm not meeting the standard of what this country expects, what this world expects me to be. I loved Ricky used the word disempowering, and I think that is so accurate and powerful, because we want to feel empowered in our own bodies. And it's really, it just allows us to do that when we think that there's a standard that we have to meet. That's right. Okay, so Joe was talking about guilt. He was talking about like how we're expected to achieve. He has a background of bodybuilding, and how we're expected to achieve such an ideal body image, and you feel a lot of guilt when there's like pumpkin spice everything. I think it's
I love them.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's like America's such an interesting country, because we have all of these hyperpalatable foods that are like have been designed to like hardwire our brain to want more and more and more and more and more. And so like you're a country that is what, 40% obese, 70% overweight, afraid to be on my standards, which is but like that is just the norm, right? And then like we have all these high expectations for our bodies, like in ways that like even like in Brazil, I saw this really cool depiction one time of like what they did is they took local artists from all over the world and asked them to draw the ideal woman's body image, and they're very, very different. And that really made me appreciate like like in our country, that's all we see. We're so isolated in America, we don't really get to go to other countries unless we travel. But like in America, we have like such an unideal body image. But if you go to Brazil, like women are curvy and busty, and like there's such a different depiction of what the ideal is, just because it's not American, it's not the ideal. And so we get to make our own, honestly, ideally.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I just want to make a comment about bodybuilding. I don't know how many of you have ever been exposed to that world, but it might be one of the most unhealthy worlds ever. It is horribly unhealthy, yet the image that comes out appears picture of health. That is mind bending to try to like even get understand that, because all you see is the image, you don't understand what the layers are behind. So
It takes there can be a lot of mental unhealth that goes along with that.
I think it's interesting because in bodybuilding, us being in the field, I have a lot, I know. Especially if they just come out with this new segment called wellness bodybuilding, right? But it's rooted in traditional bodybuilding methods. So they're still dehydrating themselves, they're still overtraining, they're still underfueling. So even though something's called wellness, it's being healthy.
Yeah, totally.
You know, I competed for years.
Did you?
And, the last show that I competed in, the woman who won she was rolled out behind the stage, behind the curtains in a wheelchair. Went and did her 90-second posing and then came back and collapsed. It was horrible. But I mean, for me, my skin was like onion paper. And I mean, I was winning competitions, but I was not healthy.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Somebody else had their hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that when you're in that sphere and you hear all the people talk, that it's almost like tragic comic because they're aware of their own insane body dysmorphia, but at the same time they idealize these people who they will quote are suffering, right? Because they have to suffer to get to that ideal look, and even then, those people are like having problems with their head, they're like moody all the time, they don't have a sex drive, they're not happy, you know. So like,
Yeah, thank you. It's intense. It's a lot. Yeah. Hang on. I think. No, you're fine. You just both you had your hand up and I'm pushing for you.
oh, I was just thinking that as we're talking about, it definitely seems like weight and body image is huge, right? And that's what's really big in our country as well, but definitely physical disability, when someone's disability can be seen by others. So it's also something to consider as well.
Yeah.
You know, that I think now in our country, we're starting to see kids with dolls that, you know, have an amputation or maybe a skin disorder. And that's cool. Like, that's really cool. We're starting to see that, and you're starting to see that a little bit more in the media. But not only is weight such a big problem of what is the ideal body type, but having a work like when you have a physical disability that people can see that you can't hide and you can't possibly look like, you know, this ideal body type like most of us can. That's also something.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful point to bring up. Thank you for that.
There's also athletes now, right, that are like really succeeding in what they do.
Oh, yeah.
I really was, the Olympics, there were more Paralympic exposure than I've ever seen before this year, which I really appreciate. Quite frankly, I'd like to watch them more than I watch you guys.
How do they do that? Wow, that is unbelievable.
Pretty amazing to run 500 meters with no legs.
We're flying.
Right. It's unbelievable. I can do this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's what people I want to see. So,
To be able to ignore so much negativity in the world, to
Yeah.
fight through those
Yeah.
clouds of everything the world thinks you should feel like.
Right.
I can't swim with all 4 of my limbs. So I don't know how they do it.
who's the next group?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to piggyback off of that because I know when I was recovering from an eating disorder, there was a lot of emphasis on not what your body looks like, but what your body can do, which I feel really excludes a lot of people with physical disabilities because, you know, a lot of times you physically can't do things. And so that kind of, you know, if you're somebody who has an eating disorder and you also have a physical disability, you're like, well, shit, like what am I, like, I don't like how I look, like I can't do, like I can't do this thing that I really want to do. So I think that's something we really need to be mindful of in yoga, especially since there's such like an emphasis with social media, like you were saying, like on these like super fancy contortionist poses that a lot of, you know, people without disabilities can't just anatomically do. So I just want to make sure that we're not excluding, that we're not placing the emphasis completely on performance, because I feel like Michelle is saying that too, when she works with athletes, that's really places a big stress on body, you know, eating disorders is your performance as well.
Thank you for that perspective. I really appreciate that.
I would say that the biggest takeaway for that is that when you are so exposed to social media, we become desensitized to authenticity.
And I think you lose the concept of what's real and what's not real, because there's so much editing that happens too. You don't know really what's real and what's not real, because you can put a filter on, you can contort a body image and put it on there, and what you're seeing probably isn't really what's happening.
Or every like 100 pictures they took, they posted one. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, or there's like that no filter.
There's a new app called, I don't know, I'm old again. Something, right, but like when you're in this room, I don't know.
Like I'm old to know like this kind of stuff. I like don't know the social media stuff. There's an app now that like it's like Be Real. Do you have to take a pic when it tells you it
Yeah.
pops up?
Yeah, I did it for the first time last night.
Really?
At a certain time of the day,
Yeah.
you have, it pops up this alarm, and you have 2 minutes to take a picture of yourself and whatever you're doing with whomever you're doing it, and post it with your friend group. And it's a little bizarre.
Yeah.
Who knows what you're doing at the moment? You're supposed to say, hey, this is the real me, this is not the projected me.
Yeah.
That I'm posting on Instagram when it's curated.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's kind of getting a really big following with the younger generation. I don't know. So if anybody's interested, keep doing it, report back how that is. All right, next, does this group want to add more? Sorry.
I don't think we have too much more. We discussed the pretty normal stuff that came from that influx of media hitting us with all those images, especially the older media, because it's really only recently that we're starting to see that much more variety, if you will, of people. So low self-esteem, eating disorders, increases in plastic surgery to fix yourself or make yourself look like the person you've been staring at for however long, living in an unrealistic reality. Interesting enough, we started discussing, does it need to be all negative? Like, were there any positive things that came out of that? We didn't have really a good answer to that. We thought that, well, yeah, because like, if you're maybe somewhat idolizing someone, they're in Thor, we'll use him as an example. And you have maybe a similar body type, but you just don't have his muscles. So it encourages you to start working out to develop the muscles. But then we were like, well, if you backtrack that though, it's one thing to look at the image, but we don't know about the layers behind that. So the question becomes, yeah, you became healthier because of that, but are you satisfied now? What was your mental state when you went into that? What was your emotional state? Where is it now? So
I think that's a really good point. I will add just a little bit devil's advocate, not to like stir the pot too much, but I have had the opportunity I work in medicine, and so I will say I've seen positive changes result from individuals that have had surgeries. That's a different ballgame a little bit there. And that most often happens when the individual is well grounded and anchored and rooted in what the true reason for having X surgery is. There's a plethora on the other side that is not like the surgery doesn't cure the thing that's really the issue at the end of the day. But I will say there is a handful of people that I have experienced and seen that like it really is like altering in a positive way. So I don't want to demean all of that.
no, I think there's a
Yeah, because I have heard something about that where somebody got Botox, which isn't really a surgery, but you know, a body altering thing, because every time they looked at their face, they saw like basically wrinkles that were like derived from a terrible trauma that they had as a child. And so they got this Botox, so now it allowed them to like every time they look in the mirror, they don't have to like relive that, or they don't have to see that and be reminded of it. So
Listen, I will fully disclose to y'all, I don't have had Botox before. And I am real fine with getting it again when I am not pregnant. I'm really good with myself. I feel good. I like it. I have no problem.
I do want to add one thing. If it's used as a way to spiritually bypass
Yeah, that's a whole.
the underlying, that's like the only thing that I would see as, you know, because that pain's gonna come up at some point, right? But if it's deterring it for a minute until the person can mentally heal too, and there's like somebody that positive, yeah.
At this point, actually, really. All right, I think we have one or two more groups. One more group?
Yeah.
Go for it, and then we gotta jump into our next.
I talked a lot about like the shame, like, and a lot of what everybody else was saying, the shame that comes with seeing things and understanding like my body's never gonna do that. I know that I cannot get there, and that can make me feel really, really bad, and create all kinds of eating disorders or body dysmorphia, all of that. So we talked about that. And then I think something that's important that we didn't necessarily talk about, but it did come up, we didn't label it necessarily, is that your idea of your own body image can change with like age, right? So Leslie was talking about how she's like not all the way comfortable right now because, you know, she's at an age where things are changing. And I brought up that like I just had a baby. So, you know, things are softer than they used to be and things don't sit the way they used to and they just look a little different. And so what I've always known, and I'm sure Leslie would agree with, but like what you've always known your body to be and the shame that comes with just that as a natural human being. And then to be thrust into something like pregnancy or, you know, age or
Hormones.
or like, you know, there's trauma or whatever it is, it can like change it completely. So you think you're like confident here, and then all of a sudden all this stuff starts happening, and you're like, whoa, now I'm feeling all kinds of different. So I think it's important to at least know that yes, there are people who deal with it their entire life, and there's some people who don't deal with it till much later on. Sure. Or just at random times. It's an ongoing thought process that
Absolutely.
you know can be shameful or hurtful or whatever. So
And I mean, I will speak because I was recently just pregnant. I'm pregnant again 9 months later. The expectation we put on pregnant people to bounce back after that, like, I'm sorry, I just grew human. Yeah, let me see you do that. And again, I also birthed it, so I'm not sure if you know what entails that is. And also I'm feeding it and it's like keeping it alive on a daily basis.
But then there's the thing too, where like as you're growing that baby, they're like, oh my, you're getting so big and beautiful and we love it. And then as soon as that baby's out, they're like, nope, tighten it back up.
Get that belly back
Yeah,
down.
right there.
So, let's talk real quick about, first of all, thank you. That was all awesome. I really appreciate you guys naming all of that stuff. You can see what count, right? Like, it's no joke. This is a big, big vat of things we're dealing with. So you just talked about that. Now you talk about all of you in a room and we're teaching you. And you have all these personal experiences that are living on the map. So what we're going to transition into is, as teachers, how do you wield a lot of power? So let's talk about what that looks like. But before I do that, I want Elizabeth to tell you the samskara story, because it will really help those of you that don't know what a samskara is and what that means. Really quick, the concept of a vritti is the fluctuation of the mind. You will learn the first Yoga Sutra, which has to deal with the quieting of the vrittis. You will learn those 4 words, and you will never forget them again. But I will let you learn them on your own. I don't think because you're going to forget them. But that's the quieting of the mind. But the vrittis you can be born with samskaras, and vrittis can enable samskaras to be created. And so samskaras, Elizabeth is going to give you a story about samskaras to understand what that is, and then we'll go from there.
I wanted to add one thing.
Yeah.
Just to touch on the social media aspect and the influencer aspect, and y'all are influencers, right? As yoga teachers, you're leaders in your field. And there was an influencer who posted a picture of herself. I think she was doing holoback. And it was like beautiful and perfect, but she actually had like a seizure during it, ended up in the hospital. Yeah, so you know, just like being in integrity with like, what you can actually do and not doing the 1,000 pictures of taking the one that actually looks like perfect, right? Because what's going on behind the scenes, is it really serving you? Is it honoring you? And what are you serving out to the people that are watching you, right? So that's, okay. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I've fallen. I'm lost. I'm hopeless, helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find my way out. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. It isn't my fault. Still takes me a long time to get out. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it is there. I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. I walk down another street. So you guys kind of get how the awareness of the samskara, right? It's this deep groove that we, like, if you've ever played vinyls, right? And your
Those are
needle-
records.
Right, so your needle gets stuck in that one groove because you played that one song so many times, right? And you have to move it out. So that's what a samskara is. We've done it so many times. It's a habit. We're unaware that we do it, right? So you can probably imagine some of those things that you do and you're unaware of. And then we have the ones that we're aware of, right? So like me, I'm healing from a trauma. So I'm very aware that I'm eating lots of cookies and baked goods. It was like, where's your chocolate? I need it now. I'm so aware, and I'm choosing to do it because I need to soothe myself right now in that way. Right?
So you'll learn more about some scars, but often body image and positive body image becomes a deep rooted samskara for people, and it is very, very difficult to create a new groove, to have a new view, to believe in a different thing about yourself. So you as teachers, we have 4 minutes to discuss this, so good luck. So you as teachers wield a massive amount of power. You have power. You are standing at the front of the class and you are leading a class. And it is will be your responsibility to show up in a safe space. All of you can now understand and recognize you have your own samskaras, your own thing about body image, right? Now you're going to stand up in front of the class. Your stuff is coming with you into the class, where everybody else in the class likely has that too. So what are some ways, as a big group, we can talk about this, just bring it out. What are some ways that you can set up your students to be successful when it comes to this concept of body positivity? As you're a teacher, what can you do to make it a safe and accessible class?
Make it known like what modifications can be done in different persons.
Yes, absolutely modifications. You're gonna just probably have to kind of yell them out over each other.
The first yoga class I ever took was with someone who didn't fit like the perfect image, and she was great, and she throughout the practice just constantly said, listen to the body, and that's when I was like, I'm coming back. So
That's awesome, love that, yeah.
Create positive affirmations and encourage students to have positive mantras.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I used to go to these classes where the teachers would always ask students individually any hindrance that they had, and so the teacher would always give me things to do before I was in the moment feeling uncomfortable with modifications, because in the moment I'm like looking around everyone doing it, like, okay, well, and then you can modify, and that's awesome, but if you can do it before the class, you can avoid the uncomfortability. I think it's kind of more beneficial to do it that way, so someone walks in and knows exactly what they should do next.
That's great. We have that at Campio. We have a thing in the system that allows us to see if somebody has an injury, so we can do that before they come into the room.
One of the best teachers like I had did was kind of emphasize that there's no such thing as a perfect pose. It's finding where your body finds peace in that pose, and then you replicate what you're supposed to do.
Ooh, I love that language. And peace doesn't mean undifficult. I mean, yeah.
Where your body says, this is where I want to stay.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna say like that, what you guys are all saying is giving your students, using the language to create autonomy. They have autonomy over what their body does on their mat. Right? Any other good examples with that? Michelle, you're on. Do you want to say anything? You can just pop off if you want to talk. I want to make sure.
Okay, thank you. I just love what everyone is saying. And every time I think of something, someone says it. So I have no feeling to repeat it. So I think it's awesome.
Sure.
I like when the teachers will comment on your strength, or right when we're pushing through, holding the plank, or difficult pose too, right? And it just reminds me like, you are strong. Look at what you're doing here in this moment. Look at what your body can do. You're not thinking about the shape or size of your body or what someone else is doing, but you're like, yeah, I am strong.
Yeah, that's great. Are there things that you would not do?
Go deeper, press harder, do better, right? Like,
Yeah.
like, no,
Don't tell
that,
people to
that
do
might
better,
be
please.
all I got. So,
Yeah.
Using exclusive language, which is something we go into later, I'm pretty sure, like using inclusive versus exclusive
Yeah.
language. I think that's big.
So, and one of the big things I think people forget is during the holidays, you'll come back. So we have lots of big holidays coming up, no matter what tradition you may or may not celebrate. Usually food is associated with it. So you'll often hear after like a big holiday where there's food, like, all right, let's lose those pounds. Let's work it off. Let's do that. Let's not say those things. Or looking at somebody and being like, oh gosh, you look great. Did you lose weight? When they're coming in and you're you're just having conversation. Because remember, not everybody's here to lose weight. Lots of people actually would like to put weight on too, that as well.
I also think that saying that something is easy, let's get into this easy child's pose or an easy something. Child pose is not easy for me. And so things
It is
like
not
that.
a lot of people, to be honest. People that have bad knees, that have difficult in flexing and finding movement in the hip. It can be a really excruciating posture. Limited ankle flexibility. So thank you, Michelle.
Being terms like easy, hard, or just.
Yeah.
I hike 14ers. There's no easy 14er. You don't hike to 14,000 feet and go, wow, that was easy. It's not
Well, that was
about that, right?
Yeah.
It's not a matter of something being easy.
Yeah.
It's just, are you willing to tolerate
Yeah.
that discomfort and push yourself past that so that you can keep that going?
Yeah.
Comes back to subjectivity too, like it depends on the person. Like everybody's gonna find different things harder, easy.
Yes, 100%. Just making sure you give everybody some sort of modification but not using the language. If you're more flexible, try this next one. Like being careful of that kind of language around just, and then also being thoughtful when you're demoing as a teacher. Like, okay, you can do bird in paradise, great. Do you really want to like go into the full expressions of bird of paradise? If you're teaching that, sure you can, but like think about how you'll set up the demo to give people that opportunity. And reinforce, totally cool if you're staying right here. And maybe sometimes you just stay right there if you're demoing it, give people that option. So here's the thing, unfortunately it is 2:32. I want to respect your time. I'm 2 minutes over. We could talk, we always need more hours with this, but I want you to think about this as you're going through the training. Keep this in somewhere, right, in your mind about what this looks like. Listen to the teachers that you're taking class from. Listen to how, particularly here at Cambio, we really work very consciously to make sure that our languaging is really safe and accessible. Your teachers may not always get it right, so know that too. And I don't want you to feel a lot of pressure. Like these are things we're just teaching that are going to become part of your stream of consciousness when you're coming in to become, teach a class or to teach not a class, like but to teach something else, right? So just think about this as you go through. Think about it, what it feels like for you. Start to put that, acknowledgement and recognition together.
We'll probably touch a little bit more on this when we will have later on in the training for intensive, and I think extended, you guys are at the same time. Yeah. We do diversity, equity, and an inclusion panel, which this would also be part of that. We just kind of pull it out on its own here because it's a really, really big topic. The other one is a really, really, really big topic and gets a couple hours. But we're just trying to bring things to light here and be aware and acknowledge them. So I really appreciate you guys being so conversational and willing to share. And I really appreciate your vulnerability. Really, thank you. So those of you, are there any final comments, thoughts, questions, concerns? Yes. Elizabeth.
Thank you all so much for welcoming me and allowing me to be here today. If you want to reach out to me on social media, I'm Passion for Posture, and it's trauma conscious. I teach you how to have better posture. If you ever have questions, reach out to me. But I do have a full class that I just posted on there, so you kind of see cueing and how I approach things too. Which can be fun.
It's great. It's really nice. It's a very accessible, open class. You know what I say. The intensive, you guys are done for the day, extended. You guys take a nice little, I don't know, 10-minute break, whatever you need. Please take a break, because listen, I feel for you that you have to sit with me on a Sunday afternoon and do anatomy. I'm not gonna lie. So we're gonna make it fun. We're gonna try to finish early, and we're not gonna make it scary. So an intensive, I'll see you guys all next week. Yeah. Thank you. So you'll never. Especially if you have a learning to be friends.
Administrative Erica.
Yes.
Scott. Okay, so I signed up. I'm just gonna use my spam email. It won't let me switch it because I did make the other account.
Okay.
That's my fault. I'll just use the spam email.
Yeah. Okay. But you were able to sign up? Yeah. Awesome. Great. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, I got it.
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought it and it was just white. I was like, that's boring.
You're like my
I have a lot of clothes in this color and every time I'm wearing one, somebody's like, you match your color. I'm like, yeah, I do. This is one of my favorite.
Okay, I think that was really I just want to check in since I have you and let you know that I will be here and we're not sure yet, but we have to do this, so I'm just gonna keep going like this. You decide it. Okay.
Where is Holly here? Holland? Holland? Hi. Is it Holly? Yeah, it's Holly. Okay, Holly. I'm here. Okay, cool. That's gonna be like, I don't know what's happening. Do you want me to have it? Okay.
I'm your other mentee, Andy.
Oh, Andy, hi.
Hi.
Yes, you are.
You looked me in, I was blank for a second. I'm like, oh,
Well, I forgot you were here and then they switched and then yes, so that's why I was like, oh yeah.
I'm like, I thought I had red hair.
So you can find me. Yes. I will. I don't know what I'm making yet. I'll make something.